Hi, welcome back to Kalike for yet another video on electric charges and fields. And in this video, without wasting much time, we'll hop on to understand electric flux, and then we'll arrive at the expression for dipole for various locations like on the axial line and the equatorial line. And with a twist, you will understand what will happen, how the electric the dipole would behave in a uniform field and a non-uniform electric field. And interestingly, you learn something extra where we are going to step further to calculate the work done in rotating the dipole in a uniform electric field for various angles, like starting from 0 degree to 90 degree, 180 degree and 270 degree. And also we will also see that this work done will be stored as the potential energy of the dipole, and we will arrive at the expression for potential energy of the dipole, and we'll at the end of the class we will see various values of various values of potential energy for these various angles. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Well, so we have a term called electric flux in physics. So how do you define this electric flux? We have learned about electric lines of force or electric field lines in our previous class. So here we'll try and understand what do you mean by electric flux. So let's first define it. So electric flux is basically the number of field lines or number of lines of force crossing a given cross-sectional area, a unit cross-sectional area of a surface. So how do you define this? The definition is, it is defined as the number of forces. I'll just write it as it is. It is the number of lines of force, or you can also call them or refer to them as electric field lines. So lines of force crossing a given unit cross-sectional area, a given or number of lines crossing per unit area of a surface. So you can simply define it as per unit area of any given surface, okay? Of any given surface is what is referred to as electric flux. So how do you understand this? So far we have seen how to draw various lines of force for various charge combination. You have seen that for any given positive charge, for any if you have a test charge, you see that it will experience a force in the radially outward direction. So imagine these are the lines of force that are going radially outward from the source charge, because this is the direction of the force experienced by the point charge placed at a point P. So if you have a test charge Q, positive charge placed at this point P, it will experience a force in this direction, and hence you write the electric lines of force, and hence the field lines, they both mean the same in this direction. Suppose if I start drawing number of, I've already told you these are imaginary lines, just help us to understand the number of, understand how the electric field basically looks like. So if I start drawing the electric lines of force, see here, since it is closer to this point, it will experience a larger stronger electric field. Similarly, see here, it might experience lesser electric force. So therefore, if I take a cross-sectional area, suppose if I imagine this, just take a cross-sectional area, or keeps a surface, you see how many lines are passing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines are passing. So what will be the flux? Flux is denoted by the letter phi. It is called phi. Okay, so we call it as phi. Phi is what is referred to as flux. So in physics, so the number of lines crossing per this cross-sectional area, if this cross-sectional area is referred to as ds, a small area, or you can also call it as s, if this is the surface area. So these are the number of lines passing, electric field lines passing in this given unit area. What do you mean by unit area? Suppose you have 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. Of course, I have taken a rectangle, but you have to assume it to be a unit area. It has to be a square. So therefore, the flux in this case is 6. Suppose you take a unit area where the number of lines crossing is 2. So what will be the flux in this case? The flux in this case is 2. Suppose you have an area like this, more number of lines pass through. So if you have larger number of lines passing through, 5 lines pass through, so here the electric flux becomes 5. So flux is a scalar quantity because it just gives you a number. It's a physical quantity which is not really it's a scalar quantity. Basically it gives you the number of electric field lines, the imaginary lines that we assume to understand how a point charge would probably be experiencing force in a particular direction. So it gives you the number of imaginary lines that can cross through a particular section area. So if these are the lines, so if I keep it like this, so what is it can, if you keep it perpendicular, maximum lines would cross through the given surface area, so that becomes a flux. So this is the basic definition of flux. Now you will see at various angles what will be the flux for a given surface. What will happen if you have a closed surface? For that we need to define something called the area vector, which we will do first, and then arrive at the expression for flux, and hence the SI unit for flux. Well, now to understand electric flux, we need to understand how do we define a normal to a given surface area. Let's take 2 examples. Suppose, if I take a planar surface area like this and also a curved surface area like this, okay. Now suppose this surface area, I will denote, area is a vector, please remember. You can either call it as A, or you can, I am representing this is surface area, okay. So surface area is a vector, it is not a scalar, it has both direction as well as magnitude. So how do you define the direction? You know that definitely it has a magnitude because it has got a surface certain value. So this also has this surface area, right? So it's a vector, surface area vector. Sorry, we have to mention area. So surface area vector. So this is a surface area. It has got both magnitude and direction. So how do we define direction for given surface? So in order to define the direction for a given surface, imagine this is the surface area. If I have a plain, metal sheet like this, how will you define the direction? You define the direction in the perpendicular direction. So there are 2 directions basically. One facing the upward direction, another facing the downward direction. By convention, we always prefer the upward direction, because if it is a closed surface, I do not know, I cannot see inside. So we always take it on the surface area, whatever is visible to our eyes. To see this, I have to go below. If it is closed, I can't see what is inside. So we always prefer the outward normal, always in the outward direction. So this normal direction is the direction of any given surface area, or an area for that matter. So surface area or area is always a vector having both magnitude as well as direction. This is a very important thing that you must know. So this normal direction n cap is what is known as the direction of this. For this surface, what we do, we choose a certain, if it's a closed surface, when I say closed surface, I mean the surface is coming out of the board and half of the surface is going into the board. So what I do is I choose a surface area, a small portion, a unit cross sectional area. So 1 meter square or 1 centimeter square area, unit area, okay, a small patch of area, and here I take the outward normal in this direction. What do you mean by outward normal? So suppose if this is the surface, if it is coming out of the board like this, then the outward normal will look in this direction. I can't draw it on the board, I have to draw it in this direction, but I have just shown you upward. So this is how it looks like. So it is coming out like this. It's coming out in this direction, and the other direction is going inside. So this is the direction for an area vector. So how do you write the area vector? Area vector is given by S vector into the magnitude into its direction. So the magnitude is S and the direction is n cap. So now if you have to define flux, suppose here some number of lines are crossing. Okay, so how do you write flux for this? Flux is given by the number of lines passing per unit A cross sectional area. So 3 is the number. What is the direction? The direction is n cap. So the direction of the vector is n cap. So it is coming in this direction. Okay, it is making certain angle with the electric field. So if it is coming in this direction, so you see the electric field is in this direction, the area is coming out in this direction. What is the angle between them? The angle between them is 90 degree. Suppose I draw the electric field lines like this. Suppose these are the electric field lines and you place the area vector like this, you place it in between. So what are the number of lines crossing? You are keeping it parallel. So you see your how are you keeping? So in this case also you are keeping it like this. So what is the direction? This direction, it is facing in this direction. You are basically keeping it like this in this direction. Now you see that what are the number of lines crossing here? The number of lines crossing this cross-sectional area is 0. Okay, so it makes an angle 0. So we will do it, define cos theta and do it further. But this is how you define an area vector. Okay, now let us imagine these are the electric field lines. This is the direction of the field lines. That means if you have a source charge here and if you keep a point charge somewhere here, it will experience a force in this direction. So this is the direction of the force and hence the electric field, right? Both face in the direction, same direction, because the direction of force is the direction of the electric field that we have already learned. Now suppose if you place a small surface like this tilted at an angle. So this is the direction of the surface. So it makes, this is the direction of the normal. So it makes an angle theta with the electric field. So what is the angle between electric field and the area vector? So angle between the electric field and the area vector or the surface area vector. The surface area, it's a small surface area. You take a small surface area in this. So what is the angle? So the angle between the area vector and this is equal to theta. So in such cases, how you define your electric flux? Electric flux is the number of electric field lines crossing per unit sectional area. So number of lines per area like this, or you define it as the dot product of E dot ds. So dot product can be written as EDS cos theta. So when you have a dot product, you will learn this in detail in scalars and vectors. You've learned it in first year, class 11. So dot product is given by EDS cos theta and cross product is given by EDS sin theta. So here it's the dot product between these two. So these two vectors. Why is it a dot product? Because phi is a scalar. It's not a vector. Although it is a product of two vectors, this turns out to be a scalar. It doesn't have a direction and hence you define it as a dot product. So therefore it has to be EDS cos theta. Now when is phi maximum? Phi is maximum at, let's say, theta is equal to 0. If the angle between the dipole and the angle between the surface area and the electric field is 0, then phi will be maximum. How? Because it is E ds cos 0. Cos 0 is how much? Cos 0 degree is 1. So therefore it is maximum. What will happen if theta is equal to 90 degrees? It has to be 0 because phi will be E ds cos 90. Cos 90 is 0 degrees. So this is 0 degrees. So therefore the entire quantity becomes 0. No line passes through the given surface area. So if this is the direction of the electric field and you place it normally like this, if my fingers represent the electric field lines and if this represents the direction of the surface area. So if you are keeping the surface area like this, so what will be the direction? The direction will be like this, right? So this will be the direction of the area vector. This will be the direction of the area vector. And then the electric field lines are my fingers. So you see it is facing upward. The angle between them is 90 degree. So nothing actually literally. So if you even keep it in between them. So you see this is the angle that they make with each other. So how do you write it? If I have to write and show it. So this will be something like this. This is the direction of the electric field. So or hence the direction of force. So what if I keep a surface area like this making an angle 90 degree. So this is the direction of the area vector. So the angle between them is 90 degree. You literally see nothing actually passes through it. So when the angle between the surface area vector and the electric field is 90 degree, what happens? Now no electric field lines actually pass through a given surface area. You see that the flux is 0. So that is how you mathematically as well as physically understand. Well, now it's time to define the SI unit for electric flux. So electric flux is given by E ds cos theta, right? So what is E is force divided by charge. So force is measured in Newton, charge is measured in Coulomb. So electric field is given by Newton per Coulomb. So how do you measure surface area? Surface area is measured in meter square. So if you club this and write the expression, so the SI unit for phi will be electric field is measured in Newton per Coulomb, surface area is measured in meter square. So this is the SI unit for electric flux. This is a very important SI unit. It can be asked in your entrance exams as well as your board exams. So it is essential, you can, even if you do not know, if you know the formula, you can directly calculate it and write it there or choose it there. Also, there is one more thing that you must remember. For any given closed surface, okay, so what do? We assume the surface to be divided into infinitesimally small surface area, so, and with different, normals pointing in this direction. So you assume it will be microscopic, very thin slices, each of 1 millimeter square or even less than that. So you assume it to be divided like this, infinitesimal area elements, and through each you calculate how much lines of force is actually passing through it. So this is how you calculate. So these are the electric lines. If these are the electric lines of force, and this is the area vector, you assume it to be divided into infinite. You chop it into thin pieces. You assume it to be small, tiny pieces, and calculate. And how do you the net flux? So the net flux will be sum of all this flux, which is nothing but sum of phi 1, phi 1, phi 2, phi 3. So if this is phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4, phi 6, how many? If you have divided it into 1000 or 2000 pieces, so you have to add them also. Instead of adding, you can use mathematics. So it is sum phi from, let's say, 1 to n, right? So how many ever pieces you divided, it will be E ds cos theta. You will also see what angle each area vector is making with the electric field, and you tend to calculate it like this. Well, now let's introduce something called electric dipole. So as the name itself suggests, di means two, pole means two. Pole means like you have the north and the south pole. So here pole means polarity. So dipole, we are talking about two polarities. So obviously, what are the two polarities that we've been reading so far? It is the negative charge and the positive charge. So what is an electric dipole? An electric dipole is probably, you have two charges plus and minus q. They are separated by a certain distance, due to which you have an electric field created. So such a thing is what is referred to as an electric dipole. But how do you actually define it? So an electric dipole is a pair of, charge. It is a pair of charges. What are those charges? Charges plus q and minus q, separated by a distance. Okay, separated by a distance. How much is that distance? That distance we refer to as distance of 2a. So they are separated by a distance 2a. So suppose if you have minus q charge here and plus q charge here, placed here, and the distance of separation between them is 2a. So this constitutes an electric dipole. They will have a field. What do you mean by they will have a field? It means if you keep a charge somewhere here or somewhere here. So if I keep a charge somewhere here, P, so due to this and due to this, there will be some electric field at this point. So if you keep a positive charge here, it will experience some field. So what will happen? This is plus, it will go away, repel away in this direction. So if I call this as E2 and if I call this as E1, it will experience a force of attraction due to this E1. So if you complete the parallelogram, you see the net electric field will be in this direction, and you can calculate the electric field. So due to a dipole, there will be some net electric field experienced by a point charge placed at a certain distance. Okay, now the centers of the dipole, these are the centers of the dipole. So the distance between the centers of the dipole is always given by 2 into A. So 2 times A is by convention, this is what we write. So 2A is these are all experimentally proved. So here we are not going into the argument, how did I get 2A and why not A? Why do we consider that? So from the center, from this center point, it will be A, and from this center point it will be A. So therefore the total distance is 2A. So from the center, between the center you have, this is, we assume it to be A and this assumed to be A. So therefore the total distance of separation between the 2 point charges plus Q and minus Q is always 2A. And what is the direction of a dipole? Does dipole has a direction? Yes, certainly. So that by convention, the direction of the dipole is always given from minus Q to plus Q. So this is the direction of any given dipole. So what do you mean by that? I will show you pictorially how does it represent. So if this is minus Q and this is plus Q and these are the charges, okay, separated by certain distance 2A. So what is the direction of the dipole? The dipole, which is represented by the letter P, small p, okay. So with a vector, it's a vector, and the direction of the dipole is always from minus Q to plus Q, and this is just a convention, matter of convention that we have assumed. So therefore this will be the direction of the dipole. Will dipole be ever zero? Is it even a possibility? I told you this dipole, can the value of the dipole be zero? Will it be ever zero? It can be zero when there is no separation between the two charges. Okay, when these two charges are very close to each other, absolutely no separation. The centers have to collide with each other. There is no separation between these two charges, then there would not exist any dipole. So they act as one single system. The center of my negative charge and the center of the positive charge, if they collide with each other, then you call such a system as you would not call it as a dipole in the first place, because dipole by definition is a combination of two charges minus Q and plus Q separated by a certain distance. And what is that certain distance? That certain distance is 2A, because A is the distance of separation from the center of the dipole to each individual charge. So therefore you do not rather call it as a dipole at all. So only in such cases where the center of the two charges, the positive and the negative charges, coincide together, they act as one single system, only in such cases the dipole value will be zero. Otherwise it will have a certain value. Now what will happen? Suppose these are minus Q and plus Q. Suppose I have a charge. Okay, let me erase this. Okay, somewhere here. Okay, I keep a point charge here. So P and P. So this R1, this is the distance of separation. R2, this is the distance of separation. So imagine this is kept very, very, very far away in such a case where the value of R1 and R2 is very much greater than the distance of separation between the two charges. So in such a case, you can assume the value of R1 and R2 is equal. Okay, so these two values are approximately equal because it is very much far away. You are keeping a point charge very, very, very much far away. So you cannot really measure. It tends to look at, when you look at that, you see that probably the point P is at the same distance from minus Q as from plus Q. In such cases, will the electric dipole be zero? No, it won't be zero. Here also the dipole moment that you calculate here, this is the dipole moment. Will the value of the dipole moment be zero? No, it won't be zero. It will still have a certain value, but it will have minimum value. But in such cases, only when is it going to be zero? Only when the centers of the positive and the negative charges collide with each other, they act as one single system where there is no distance of separation. In such cases only you refer to the dipole moment as zero. What is dipole moment? How do we define it? We will do it when we go further in arriving at the expressions where you keep a point charge away from the dipole at a certain distance. You arrive at the expression for the electric field of a dipole. So will the value of the electric dipole, electric field due to a dipole be zero? Here also you saw that the electric field due to a dipole has a certain value. Only when will this be zero at this point? No. The electric field due to a dipole at this point will not be zero. It will have some value. R1 and R2 will be equal. They would not exactly cancel each other. There could be bare minimum value because certainly R1 is approximately equal to R2. It is not exactly equal. We assume it to be equal. Even in such cases, it will have some minimal value. So therefore the electric field due to a dipole will never be 0. Okay, now it's time to arrive at the expression for the electric field due to a dipole on the axial line. Well, now this is a very important question when it comes to your board examination. You could be asked to derive it for 5 marks. So please pay attention when we do the calculation. So we are arriving at the expression for the electric field due to a dipole. Okay, so let's first write the dipole. Okay, this is the dipole. I'll assume you can write minus q here, plus q wherever you want to choose. So I'm choosing it here. This is minus q and this is plus q. The distance of separation between them as usual is 2a. So this distance will be a and this distance will be a as well. Okay, so this is the dipole. Now you have to calculate the electric field due to the dipole. At what point, where are you assuming it the positive the test charge to be placed? The test charge is placed on the axis. So this is on the axis. Let's extend the axis. Suppose if you keep the positive charge here, okay, at the point P, you are keeping a positive charge here. So you have to calculate the value of the electric field due to these two charges which are at a certain distance of separation from the point P. Okay, so you have to calculate what will be the distance of separation. This will be and you have to arrive at the expression for the electric field at the point P due to charge Q and charge minus Q. Before arriving calculating what's the distance, let's see what will happen to the test charge. What will be the forces experienced by the test charge due to plus q and minus q? Okay, what is the direction of the dipole? But by convention, the direction of the dipole is always given by minus q to plus q. So this is the direction of the dipole. Now, what will happen to the electric field? What will be the direction of the electric field? Due to plus q, which is closer, it just wants to repel farther and farther away. So this is the plus q electric field due to plus q. What will be the electric field due to minus q? It gets attracted equally in the opposite direction. So this is the electric field due to minus q. So what will be your net electric field? So the net electric field is given by the expression electric field due to plus q and electric field due to minus q. So you have to calculate these two values. We know the expression for electric field. Electric field is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught divided into the source charge divided by the distance of the source charge from the point P. Similarly, here also you have to do 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. The source charge, which is minus q, you take the magnitude. Unless you are writing it in the vector form, you take the direction as well. So divided by the distance of separation between the point P and the charge minus q. So here I will take a pause. I want you to experiment, arrive at the expression. In some time I will reveal the answer. Well, I hope you are able to arrive at the expression. If not, here's the reveal. So in order to do so, we do not know the distance. Let's assume the distance from the point P to the center of the dipole be r. So I am calling the distance between the center of the dipole to this as r. Okay. So how will you write the expression for EQ? EQ is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay. Multiplied by. So let's calculate that separately. E plus Q can be written as, you can write it in the vector form, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q plus Q divided by r square. What is this r square? R square is the distance. You have to calculate this distance. So this entire distance is r. Okay, so we only need this distance. So in this entire distance, I have to subtract this. How much is this distance? This distance is a. So you have to subtract out of r, you have to subtract a to get this distance. So this distance will be r minus a. So this will be r minus a the whole square into what is the direction of the dipole? You have to write the direction of the dipole. The direction of the dipole and the electric field direction due to plus q are in the same direction. So therefore dipole vector unit vector p. Okay. Now if you are writing for minus q, so let's write it for minus q. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q, which is your negative charge, whole divided by what is the distance of separation from minus q to this point charge. So this distance is a, this distance is r, so it will be r plus a. So this entire distance will be r plus a. R plus a the whole square. But look at the direction of the dipole. Dipole is pointing in this direction, whereas the electric field due to minus q is pointing in the opposite direction. So since we are writing the direction as well, you have to write it as minus unit vector p, because they are facing opposite to each other. Electric field direction and the dipole direction, due to minus q, it is opposite, therefore you write minus p. Now it is time to substitute it here and add them. Let's try and do that. So therefore the net electric field will be equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, okay, q divided by, how much was this, r minus a the whole square, fine, into vector p plus, you have minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Why minus? Because I'm writing this minus here. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by r plus a the whole square into vector p. Let's take the common terms out. So I'm going to take 1 by, you can take q also out. So q will be taken out. Let's take q out. Let's also take 4 by epsilon naught out, into what remains inside. You can even take vector p outside. So therefore 1 divided by r minus a the whole square minus, plus into minus is minus, into r plus a the whole square. Now let's simplify. You have to take the LCM. So what is going to be the LCM? So this 4 pi by epsilon naught. If you take the LCM, this is going to be the LCM, r minus a the whole square multiplied by r plus a the whole square. So when you take the LCM, I've already taught to you in the previous sessions. So how do you find? So you take this entire term and multiply it with this. So what will be this? If you take this entire term and multiply with this, r minus a gets cancelled. What remains is r plus a the whole square minus of, now forget about this, just take this quantity 1 by r plus a whole square multiplied by this denominator. So r plus a the whole square, r plus a the whole square gets cancelled. What remains is r minus a the whole square. The next is simple simplification. Now before you simplify, there is one more hint I want to give you, and then I'll take a pause and we will do the reveal as usual. So what am I going to do is, you will expand this. So r plus a whole square is r square plus a square plus 2 into a into r minus a whole square will be r square plus a square minus 2a into r. This is a plus b whole square formula, a square plus b square plus 2ab. This is a minus b whole square formula, a square plus b square minus 2ab whole divided by, now this what I will do, since both of them have a square, I will just write it as r minus a multiplied by r plus a the whole square. You can write it because both of them, instead of writing square separately, I have just written the square together. I have not changed anything. If you go back, you will get the same stuff. So the next part is simplification. I hope you will be able to arrive at the answer. Then I'll take a pause and then reveal the answer. Well, I hope you were able to simplify it. If not, here's the reveal. So the answer is going to be the net electric field will be equal to, let's simplify it as q into vector p, unit vector p divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into, let's simplify this. So r square plus a square plus 2ar, okay, that comes r square plus a square plus 2a into r minus into plus will be minus, so this will be minus r square, minus into plus will be minus, so this is going to be minus a square, minus into minus will be plus, so that is going to be plus 2a into r whole divided by, now you see this is of the form a minus b into a plus b or a plus b into a minus b. What is a plus b into a minus b? It is a square minus b square. So therefore this part will become r square minus a square, but you also have the whole square. You have one more whole square here. So therefore now this r square, a square gets cancelled. What are you left with? We are left with 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, okay, then you have q into vector p multiplied by, you have 2ar, that becomes 4 times ar divided by r square minus a square, the whole square is what is left. Now let's rearrange this. We will rearrange it and write it as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. I will rearrange it, write it as 2 into 2a into q, okay, 2aq into r, 2 into, so 4a can be written as 2 times 2a whole divided by, if the value of r, what is r? R is the distance of point free p where the test charge was placed from the center of the dipole. If this distance is very much compared to the distance of each charge from the center of the dipole, in such cases a can be ignored. You can ignore a, you do not take it into account. So if you don't take it into account, then a is ignored, so it becomes r square whole square. So r square whole square is nothing but r to the power of 4. So r ones are r, so this becomes r cube. So what remains is, also you should know, dipole moment is given by the charge multiplied by the distance of separation between the two charges is nothing but dipole moment. That is the definition for dipole moment. So dipole moment is always equal to charge multiplied by distance of separation. So this will be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, 2 times 2aq is the dipole moment, right, whole divided by r cube into unit vector p. So this is the expression for the electric field due to a dipole if the test charge is placed on the axis of the dipole. So this is how you arrive at the expression. Very simple, very easy to score in your board examinations. Don't miss anything. It is very easy. Just write and practice it. You'll be able to crack it very easily. Well, now it's time to calculate the expression for the electric field due to a dipole, but not on a point on the axial line, but on the equatorial plane. What do you mean by that? Let's first write the dipole. So this is going to be the dipole. So here is your minus q, here is your plus q. So obviously they are separated by how much? What is the distance of separation? It is 2a. So if you take this to be the midpoint, this distance of separation is certainly a from the center of the dipole. Similarly here it is a from the center of the dipole, right? Now where are you keeping your point charge? You have to consider an equatorial plane. Okay, what is an equatorial plane? It cuts through the center. So this is how the equatorial, you are considering an equatorial plane. So this is the equatorial plane. You keep the point charge, test charge here. So here you are assuming to keep the test charge. So what will happen to the test charge? So let us say this is at a distance r. This is at a distance r from the center of the dipole. So then you have to calculate the electric field due to these. Okay. So this and this angle will be theta. This also will be theta. Similarly, this is theta. So your okay, so this angle is theta. Now let's assume, so since this is minus q, the test charge will get attracted. So this is your electric field due to minus q, right? What will happen to point charge due to plus q? It will get repelled in this direction. So this is the electric field due to plus q. Okay, now this can be dotted. This let us write dotted so that we don't have confusion. This is just the equatorial plane, right? So let's not have confusion with the equatorial plane. We are not, this is only for your reference. Okay, so that is your equatorial plane. Now, so if you complete the parallelogram, then you see this will be the net direction of the electric field. So this is the net electric field. Now, if you resolve this electric field into two components, the horizontal and the vertical components, if this is theta, this will also be theta, right? This becomes theta. So if these two are theta, so this component will be E cos theta. So it is E plus Q cos theta, also E minus Q cos theta. They both are in the same direction. What about the perpendicular direction? This will be E plus Q sin theta. This direction will be E minus Q sin theta, and they are equal and opposite and they cancel each other. So what will be your net electric field? So the net electric field due to a point on the equatorial plane is given by E cos theta. So E due to plus Q, E due to minus Q is E cos theta plus E cos theta. So therefore it is given by 2E cos theta. So you just have to calculate the value of cos theta and write the expression for E. Thereby you will arrive at the expression for the net electric field. Okay. Now if you write it in the vector form, what is the direction of the dipole? This is the direction of the dipole. What is the direction of the net electric field? It is in this direction. So they are opposite. So therefore you get a negative symbol. If you write it in the vector form, this becomes 2 vector E cos theta. Okay, if you write it in the vector form, if you do not write it in the vector form, then you don't get it, because this minus sign only suggests that it is in the opposite direction. Later you can also write it as just as the direction of the dipole is opposite to that of the direction of the net electric field. If you do not write a minus sign, you can just do that. So we have to write the expression for E and also cos theta. So let's take this triangle and calculate the value of cos theta first. So this is theta, right? And then this is R, okay? This is A. So what will be the hypotenuse? So hypotenuse square, I write it as HYP. Hypotenuse square is sum of the squares of these two sides, the opposite sides, this and this, R square plus A square. So what will be the hypotenuse value? It will be square root of this, right? So this side is going to be square root of R square plus A square, or square root can also be written as R square plus A square whole to the power of half. Square root is nothing but this. So we got this value. So what will be the value of cos theta? What is cos theta? Cos theta is adjacent side divided by the value of the hypotenuse side. So which is the adjacent side? Adjacent side is A. What is the value of the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is R square plus A square whole to the power of half. So we calculated the value of cos theta. We need to write the value of E. What is the value of E? Let's calculate that as well. So E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q divided by, what is the distance of separation between the point to these two? What is this distance? You have to calculate this distance, which is nothing but the hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is square root of R square plus A square the whole square. What is the value of cos theta? So square and root cancels, right? So let that be there. What is the value of cos theta? Cos theta is A divided by R square plus A square whole to the power of half. Now if you simplify this, this will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q divided by, this will be simply R square plus A square to the power 1, and you have A in the numerator, and R square plus A square whole to the power of half. Since the bases are same, powers can be added. 1 plus half will be 3 by 2. I will do it in the next step. I will give you a pause and I want you to arrive at the final answer. Okay, well, there is one more thing we left. Remember we are only, we are only calculating E, right? If you are calculating E net, since I have substituted even cos theta, you have to write 2 also. So this whole thing is multiplied with 2. Okay, so remember that, because we have 2 here. Initially, I only wanted to calculate the electric field, but I also substituted the value of cos theta. I forgot we were only writing the expression for E. If you are writing for E net, you should also take into account 2 and then arrive at the final expression. Well, I hope you were able to arrive at it. If not, let's write it. So therefore, the net electric field is given by, so we will write it as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So you have 2 into A into Q, which can be written as the moment, dipole moment. Now this will be R square plus A square, 1 plus half is 3 by 2, right? So this is how you write it. Suppose if the value of R is very much greater than A, then A can be ignored. So you can ignore A or A can be neglected. In such cases, we make the approximation as the net electric field is approximately equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught for such assumptions. This is the dipole moment, right? So if you are writing the dipole moment, you also have to write the electric field, you also have to write the minus symbol, or you can just write the direction of the electric field is opposite to the direction of the dipole, right? So dipole divided by r square whole to the power. So you are neglecting A, you don't have A. Then what will happen? Square, this gets cancelled, you get r cube, right? So this will be directly r cube multiplied by the unit vector P. So remember, this is the expression for the electric field due to a dipole for a point on the equatorial plane. And don't forget to mention dipole direction of electric field is opposite to the direction of the dipole. So this is a must, you have to add the line, otherwise you might lose a mark because you are writing it in the form of vector. Then you have to specify the magnitude as well as the direction. Well, now, how do you decide whether a given molecule has a dipole moment or not? It's very clear. I mean, you decide whether the given molecule has a dipole moment if the center of the two dipoles, that is, if the center of the positive charge and the center of the negative charge do not coincide, there is definite distance of separation between the two charges. Then you say that a given dipole has a dipole moment if they collide with each other, if the centers collide with each other, if it acts as one single system, then you call such dipoles. You don't even call them as dipoles because basically there is no distance of separation, because the basic definition of dipole is it's a pair of charges separated by a distance, which is what is the distance of separation? We call the distance of separation to be 2a. So there are only certain thing that you must know. We are not going to be do it in much detail unless we get conceptual questions in our entrance examinations. For now, you need to understand there are two kinds of molecules. You would read this in a little bit more when you are reading covalent bond in your chemistry classes. So what are non-polar molecules? Non-polar molecules like carbon dioxide and methane, you see that the electron cloud is very much close to the nucleus. So there is hardly any distance of separation between the nucleus and the positively charged nucleus and the electron cloud, which is negatively charged. So such molecules do not have a permanent dipole moment. They do not have a dipole moment. If you want them to have a dipole moment, you will have to subject those kind of molecules to an external electric field for them to develop some dipole moment. Whereas there are certain monopolar molecules like water, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride. So these kind of molecules do have a permanent dipole moment. They have a distance of separation. The positively charged nucleus is separated from the electron, from the cloud of electrons which is revolving around the orbit by a certain distance of separation. So they tend to have a permanent dipole moment. Okay, now it's time to calculate what will happen if you keep a dipole in a uniform electric field. We will arrive at the expression, and it is very interesting conceptually as well. So how do you write a uniform electric field? A uniform electric field is represented by parallel lines, straight lines which are parallel to each other and are also equidistant from each other. So let us assume this is the uniform electric field in which the dipole is placed. This is the direction of the electric field. So imagine you are placing the dipole here. So this is minus q and you are placing it here plus q. So what is the distance of separation? The distance of separation of the dipole is this. What is the direction of the dipole? Direction of the dipole is this. It is in the direction from minus q to plus q, right? Now what will happen if you keep it in a uniform electric field? Obviously it will experience a force in this direction. This force will be equal to magnitude of the charge multiplied by the magnitude of the electric field. Similarly, it will also experience some force in this direction, that is F will be equal to plus Q, magnitude of the charge multiplied by the magnitude of the electric field. So which means this dipole is being subjected to two equal and opposite forces. So somebody is pulling it in this side direction and in this direction with equal strength. Why equal strength? Because the value of electric field is same at this point and also at this point. The magnitude of charges are also same at both the points, but what is difference is the difference is in the direction. One is being pulled in towards the right, one is being pulled towards the right, and one towards the left. So therefore, what will be the net force? So the net force on the dipole is 0. How is it 0? Because one is plus Q, another is minus Q. So therefore, the net force on the dipole is 0. What does that imply? Conceptually, that implies that will there be any displacement of the dipole? No, because the net force acting on the dipole is 0. So the dipole stays in a state of equilibrium. It will not move away from its position linearly. So no linear motion. So there is absolutely no linear motion or no linear movement. So will there be any other movement? Let's see. So what is the angle that the dipole makes with the electric field? It makes an angle theta with the electric field. So when somebody is, you imagine it is a stick. Imagine the dipole to be a stick, and if you are pulling two people with equal strength are pulling in opposite direction, obviously it will tilt a bit, right? It will tilt and rearrange itself and come to a state of equilibrium. That means it will experience torque. The dipole which is kept in an uniform electric field making an angle theta with the electric field will experience something called torque due to rotational motion, due to rotation. Because some force is being applied in opposite direction, it will experience some torque. So by definition, what is torque? You have read it in class 12. Torque is given by force multiplied by the perpendicular distance between the two forces. So what are the two forces acting? What is the perpendicular distance between the two forces? These are the two forces. What is the perpendicular distance between these two forces? This is the perpendicular distance. So let's draw a perpendicular line. So this is the perpendicular distance. Let's name this triangle as A, B and C. We need to calculate the perpendicular distance. How much is the force? Force is QE. What is the perpendicular distance? The perpendicular distance is B into C. So if I use this as sine theta will be equal to opposite side, which is BC, divided by AB. What is the value of AB? AB is 2A, so you can write it as 2A. So what is the value of BC? BC will be equal to 2A multiplied by sine theta. So this can be replaced as QE multiplied by 2A sine theta. But what is 2A into Q? 2A into Q, 2AQ is the dipole moment multiplied by E into sine theta, which is nothing but PE sine theta. So what is PE sine theta? Torque is a vector. So how do you write this? Vectorially, it is P cross E. It is the cross product of the dipole moment with the electric field. So this is how you calculate the torque experienced due to the rotation, due to two forces acting in opposite directions. When you place a dipole in a uniform electric field, and for different values of theta, you can also calculate what will be the values of torque, which we will do now. We will calculate it for 0 degree, 90 degree, 180 degree and 270 degree. But why did I write it as P cross E? Because it's a vector, and when you have sine theta, it can be written as the cross product of two vectors. So it is a vector. When two vectors multiplied, you are getting a vector. So therefore, we write it as P cross E. Well, now let's calculate the value of torque for different values of theta. What is the value of torque if theta is equal to 0 degree? So torque is given by PE sine theta, right? Sine theta is 0 degree. Sine 0 is 0, so torque will be 0. So how much will be the torque if if theta is 90 degree? Sine 90 degree. Sine 90 is how much? 1. So therefore, the torque will be maximum. So you have maximum torque when the dipole makes an angle of direction of the dipole and the electric field are placed at right angles to each other. So what will be the value of torque if the angle is 180 degree? How much is sine 180? Sine 180 is 0. So therefore the torque will be 0. What will be the value of torque if you have, if you place, the dipole at an angle of 270 degrees, sine 270 degrees minus 1. So therefore it will be minus PE. Okay, so these are different values that you must remember. These can be asked even in your board examinations for a single mark MCQ, or can also be asked as conceptual questions, or you might have numericals as well in your entrance examination. I hope this was clear and I hope you enjoyed learning it. It's time to calculate the energy stored or the work done and see in what situations will a given dipole remain in a stable equilibrium. It's going to be a little more interesting from now on. Let's see it. Well, now, we will learn how to calculate the work done in rotating a dipole from an angle theta 1 to theta 2. So if you, from 0 to 90 degree, from 90 degree to 180 degree, from 180 degree to 270 degree, if you rotate the dipole through such an angle with the electric field, what will be the amount of work done? So the work done by definition, as we know, is force multiplied by displacement. Since there is angular displacement and the torque acts on it. So for, which is given by P sin theta. So the tiny amount of work, that is why am I referring it as dW, we are calculating the amount of work done, small amounts of work done every time. So torque is P sin theta multiplied by d theta. So if you integrated the total amount of work done from zero work to total work done, then this will be integration. If rotating an angle from theta 1 to theta 2, you have P sin theta d theta, right? So P is constant. Let's take that out of the integral symbol. So you have theta 1 to theta 2 sin theta multiplied into d theta. So what is integral of sin theta? Integral of sin theta is minus cos theta. So you have minus cos theta between the limits theta 1 to theta 2. Okay, by now you must have learned integration. If you have learned, you can directly apply. So you have PE. So this will be, if you apply the upper limit first, so upper limit is minus cos theta 2. Okay, then you have minus cos theta minus of minus the upper lower limit is theta 1, right? So this is what you are going to get. So this can be rewritten as P into E multiplied by, so minus into minus is plus, we can rewrite it as cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. So this is the amount of work done. Now suppose using that value, using that expression, let's calculate for various values. Okay, so if theta 1 is equal to 0 and theta 1 is equal to theta, what will be the amount of work done? The amount of work done, W, or it will be W if you integrate, W will be equal to, what is the expression? Expression is P is equal to, okay, I think I'll do it separately. I'll erase this part. Let's just retain this formula and do it for various values. That will be more clear instead of, crumbling everything up at one place. Okay, so what was the expression for the work done? It was PE into cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. So let's apply various values. Theta 1 is equal to, let's say 0, and theta 2 is equal to theta. So for this, what will be the work done? So it will be PE into cos 0 is 1 because theta 1 is 0, theta 2 is theta. So it will be simply 1 minus cos theta, right? Similarly, for next, if theta 1 is 0 and theta 2 is, let's say, 90 degrees. So for this, what will be the expression? W will be equal to PE into, how much is cos 0? Cos 0 is 1, right? Cos 90 is 0. So this will be simply equal to P into E maximum when you rotate at an angle of 90 degree. Now if theta 1 is equal to 0 and theta 2 is equal to 180 degree, if you rotate it through an angle of 180 degree, what will be the amount of work done? It is PE into theta 1 is 0, cos 0 is 1, cos 180 is minus 1. So minus of minus 1, it will be PE 1 minus 1 is 2. So this will be 2 times PE. So it is double when you rotate it through an angle of 180 degrees. So I hope you understood this. Why am I doing it? It is not there in NCERT, but these will be very helpful in your MCQs and entrance. Well, now this is a very important thing that we are going to derive in entrance examination point of view. So we did some work done, we calculated the expression for the work done. So will that work be stored as potential energy in a dipole? Okay, now for example, let's say this is the electric field, this is the uniform electric field. Okay, now here is the dipole minus q to plus q. Suppose if you have to bring this dipole from here to here, you have to do the work against gravity, right? You are doing the work against the gravitational force, right? So this, how much work are you doing? We know the amount of work done against the gravitational force, because you are placing it to this height, right, and doing it against gravity. So this is given by mgh. So that will get stored as the potential energy of the dipole. Similarly, imagine if, okay, this is the electric field, this is the electric field, okay, this is the electric field E. Now suppose the dipole is placed at an infinite distance, okay. So here is your dipole. So you have to bring charges plus q and minus q, okay. So they are separate charges, you have to bring them and separate at a distance. So this is the electric field. So if you have to bring that here, you have to do some work. So the electric field, there must be some source charge which is trying to pull it, right? So this, I have to bring it from this point to this point. Let's call this point as A. Okay, I have to bring it to this point. So I do some work which I denote as. So this work done to bring this charge, towards this. Also, this will be pulling, this will be pulled along with this, because this is plus and minus, there is some force of attraction, this will be pulled up. So I have to hold it, because I don't want them to come together, I want them to be separated by a certain distance. So I bring plus q and keep it, but minus q wants to come because it is attracted due to plus q. I will be holding it. So first I will bring it again here. So same amount of work is done, because that also gets attracted. Same amount of work you will do in fact less work, because it will experience an attractive force here. So therefore you keep it here. Now I have to bring the charge here and separate it by a distance 2a, the distance of separation. So you have to do some extra work here, that is dw. So the total work that you do, is given by force times the displacement, right? That first work done is force times the displacement. So here you are doing u1, u2 and some dw. So what is this amount of work that you do? Force into displacement. How much is the force? Force is charge multiplied by the electric field. How much is the displacement? You are making it displace 2a from, you are keeping it at a distance of 2a from the other charge. So it is 2aq times E, which is nothing but dipole moment into E. So this is the extra work that you do. So what is the total work you did? The total work you did is, one was bringing it here, another was again q1 plus u2 plus pe. So the total work that you did, these two are, one, you are literally stopping it, right? Because it wanted to come, you had to do work to stop it from coming along with q. So you are doing it in a direction opposite. So you are literally stopping minus q from coming along with plus q, because it is attracted to plus q, you wanted to sit with plus q. So you are stopping it. So therefore you did those two works, they cancel each other, they are equal and opposite. One came opposite, automatically you had to do some work. For another, you had to stop it from coming closer to q. So therefore the total work done is your PE, right? So this can also be the, so this is the amount of work done. Now we can calculate the amount of work done for various angles and write a table also at the end, so that you have a table to calculate easily when it comes to your entrance examinations. Well, now when it comes to your entrance examination, this table is very important if you know the values, or if you know how to calculate what we have done. So I'm not going to recalculate it, because we have already done for various values. So these are different values of rotation when you rotate it through 0 degree, 90 degree, 0 to 90, and then 180 degree, 270 degree. What will be the EP is potential energy stored, work done, what will be the net potential energy. So these are certain values that you must remember. So these are certain values. Make a note of it from your examination point of view, not board examination, but yes, it can be asked in an MCQ. Also, these are very crucial when it comes to entrance examinations. Anyway, whenever I take the entrance examination questions, if we come across such questions, we will again do it, but then please make a note of it. Also remember, torque is given by P sin theta and potential energy is given by P cos theta, where P is the dipole moment and E is the electric field. This is the dot product and this is the cross product. This is a vector, this is a scalar. So when you have a scalar, we consider the dot product. When you have a vector, you consider the cross product. Make a note of this, pause it, write it down in your notebooks. It will be really helpful. Yes, so by this I end my class for today. In the next class, we are going to pick up Gauss law and its applications, which will complete your very first chapter in electrostatics. Which will lead us the path for the next chapter and entrance examination questions and more textbook numericals. If you take care of electrostatics, electrostatics will take care of you.